Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are a parent, you know how overwhelming parenting can be. Today I'm diving into a book that's had a huge impact on the way that I parented my children and continue to parent my children. It's called Parenting with Love and Logic by Cline and Jim Fay. Whether you're brand new to this book or just looking for a fresh perspective, I have the information for you. So let's get into it. First, hello, my name is Valerie. I blog at babywisemom.com and I've been blogging there since the year 2007. I have 4 children who currently range in age from 12 to 19 years old, and I love helping parents love parenthood and making your life easier. When Brayden, my oldest child, was a baby, one of my best friends recommended this book to me. She wasn't even a parent yet, but she was a teacher and she really loved their information on teaching. So naturally, I was eager to get anything I could to help me with my parenting, so I grabbed the book. So fast forward a little bit, I started reading it when Brayden was a toddler, and I absolutely found it to be a wonderful and fantastic resource. Of course, like any parenting book out there were things that I didn't agree with. You don't always agree with everything, and that's okay. You find the good ideas that you love, and then you just leave the things you don't. So what is Parenting with Love and Logic all about? At its core, it's all about helping you raise responsible children who grow up to be responsible adults. It also focuses on helping you raise independent and capable adults. It really reminds you that you're not just raising kids, you're raising future adults. And that is something that really stuck with me. It gives you this long-term view on the decisions that you make. The book opens with how to enjoy parenting while also focusing on raising those future responsible children and adults. It teaches you that when your children have failure, that's not necessarily bad. And also that success isn't always great either. And that is especially true when it comes to your child learning a valuable life lesson. Sometimes we want to save them from a consequence that would kind of lead to a failure so that they don't experience that pain of failure. Failure is not fun. But in doing so, we rob them of this valuable life lesson. Protecting your child from consequences is not always the best move. So one key theme is that kids need to experience consequences. They need to experience the consequences while they're young and the stakes are low. So this is where the logic part comes in, is when your child makes a choice that they experience the natural consequences of that choice, good or bad. So they're experiencing the consequences and you are parenting with empathy and with love. And you're responding and loving them, commiserating with them when things don't go right, but you're allowing them to feel those experiences. This book covers a lot of ground. Here are just some topics it talks about. There's self-esteem, effective praise, and boundaries. It talks about how to discipline without empty threats and why you want to make sure you do so. It also talks about how to set limits that actually stick and actually work. And then it also talks about how to handle the classic battle of wills between parent and child. The book also talks about how to control that struggle for power that comes up. It helps you manage those everyday power struggles between you and your child. And the most helpful part is that it empowers you, teaches you how to allow your child to experience consequences. And it still encourages you to show empathy. You're not just like, oh, well, yep, that was your choice. Sucks for you. You show empathy and love to them while still allowing them to feel the consequences. For example, let's say that your child refused to wear a coat one day, which is something that all parents experience at some point, especially in middle school years. So it's a cold day and your child refuses to wear a coat. And you suggest oh, you might like to wear a coat because it's pretty cold outside. And nope, I do not want to wear a coat. So later when they're really cold, instead of saying, I told you so, I told you you should have worn a coat, you might say, oh, I am so sorry that you're cold. Hopefully next time you'll remember this and choose to wear a coat. One of my favorite things about this book is that it breaks down everyday parenting challenges. It talks about chores, homework, tantrums. There's a whole section in the book that goes over 48 different scenarios and how to handle them. So there's something really practical and comforting in understanding how to handle those situations. And it's also nice because as you read through those situations, you're able to start to understand the why behind it so that you can apply those same principles into the kind of situations that'll come up that, of course, the book can't cover everything that ever comes up. And so when you face new scenarios the book doesn't talk about, you understand what's going on behind it because of all the examples they give you. So there's also things like bedtime and chores and school, and even talks about how to handle sassing. So it really feels like the book just has you covered on every front. A really great thing about the book is that it doesn't just focus on the logic side of things, it also focuses on the love side of things. The logic helps your child to learn from their choices, learn how to accept that when they make a choice, there are consequences that follow that can be good or bad. And before you know it, at a much younger age than you think your child capable, your child is going to be making big life decisions. Like even just entering high school, if they have things like concurrent enrollment classes available to them, they start to make decisions like, well, what do I want to pursue as a career? Because there's all these concurrent enrollment classes I can take, and I should focus on ones that will help me with the career I want to do. Of course, they can change their mind, but there are consequences for changing their mind, and that's okay. But like, you know, like if they decide they want to pursue a medical path and they take all these medical classes and then later change to like a humanities path, all those medical classes, like they can still count as credits, but it's not like credits toward their specific degree. And so that time gave them some credits, but it doesn't necessarily speed up their time in college, which a great thing about concurrent enrollment is that it can really save you money in college because you took those classes before you were paying college prices. So that's just an example of like decisions they're making. Like they need to understand that like decisions are real. Like decisions have real long-term effects. And believe me that you will not feel like your freshman child is old enough to make a decision like that. But they have to. If they choose to take a concurrent enrollment classes, they have to make best guesses on where they're headed. So it's great if they're already accustomed to making decisions and that like, yeah, decisions have consequences. The love side of the book just helps their child to feel supported and secure and know that they still have like people who have their back even when things don't go right, because they don't always go right. You really want your child to grow up with a sense of grace, and this book helps balance that. So let's talk for just a bit about natural consequences versus grace, because this is like a big, like, how do I handle this with parents? So the idea is that you allow your child to experience the consequences of their choices, you know, within reason, while also showing love and empathy. So back to the code example, we're not like, I told you so, but we're like, oh man, I'm so sorry you're so cold. Or I'm so sorry you were so cold at the bus stop today. Like, I bet that wasn't fun. Instead of like, well, should have listened to me. Told you so. It's like through that love and empathy, you can really guide your child toward hopefully making a better decision the next time. So like I said, not every single thing in the book resonates with me. So like going back to the code example, like, the book says, let your child get cold and learn from it and just deal with it. But there may be ages where that's not best. So like, for example, like at the time I thought with my 2-year-old, with my son at 2 years old, I don't think he's connecting the dots there of like, oops, should have really worn the coat. So like there are ages and stages to where it's appropriate to just allow your child to make those choices. Not a 2-year-old shouldn't make every choice there is out there to make. Sometimes a 2-year-old just is told what to do, and the 2-year-old wears a coat even if they don't want to. So it's like you want them to be old enough to handle that responsibility and like be able to understand the connection of like, oh yeah, should have worn the coat. So like you can't always expect logic to necessarily make sense with a toddler. So like for me, it was we teach them rules or like basic common sense, like when it's cold we wear a coat, and then someday when they're old enough to make that decision and they want to test out, well, what's it like if I don't wear a coat? They can test that and then they can experience for themselves. But like they have been taught the preferable way to do things. There's no need to reinvent the wheel with everything. Like every human doesn't need to experience life completely on their own with their own decisions and choices. Like they can be taught like this is how we do things. And then someday when it's age appropriate, they're given the chance to make that choice for themselves. As I say, wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So we want our children to learn from other people. And if they just grow up learning only from their own decisions, then they're not accustomed to like listening to others. In conclusion, I highly recommend this book. I would recommend it to everyone, that it is definitely worth the time it will take you to read. I would personally recommend you buy it so that you can like mark it up and refer to it over the years. And when things come up later down the road, you know, you can turn to it. But of course, you can rent it from the library. Like, it's definitely worth the time it takes to read. And maybe you rent it from the library, read it, and if you love it, then you buy it and have it as a reference book. But it is one that I have turned to many times to get a refresher, or sometimes when I feel like, you know, things just aren't going right, you just do like a quick little reread scan and like, okay, yes, this is where I should be going, like realigning myself with like the best ideas of what to do. So the book just really helps you discipline with confidence, and then of course apply that love to that discipline. There is no magic formula to perfect parenting, but this book gives you a really solid foundation to parenting well. It can really help you to raise responsible and empathetic children. So if you are struggling with discipline and really just don't know what to do, this book is for sure worth a read. And if you aren't to the discipline part yet, like I said, I read it when my son was a baby. It just helped me be very prepared for toddler years, having already read it. If you have read this book, I would love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What didn't you love? What has helped you? What's really stuck out to you? Let's hear about it. As always, if you have questions, drop them in the comments and I will answer. And thanks for watching and have a great day. If you liked this video and found it helpful, make sure that you like the video and that you subscribe to my channel so that you are notified of all future videos.